Welcome back to the Hurley Pro Trestles. It's time to get into the quarterfinals with Jordy Smith taking on the wildcard, Brett Simpson. Brett has been the underdog as he's moved through the rounds, but he has had a number of tough draws. His best ever finish at the Championship Tour level came in 2011. He got to 19th that season. But currently battling away on the QS. Right now with a wildcard opportunity, getting the first wave over Jordy Smith. Has been really solid with planning his big moves throughout the rounds. And he's searching for a ramp to launch off at the moment, and again, keeps that strike rate percentage right up, but the move wasn't one of his biggest.
No, it's just going to be a starter of a wave, and it looks like Jordy has found himself a decent one here, Ron.
Well, let's see what this beefcake can throw at us. He has some of the biggest turns on the Championship Tour, and he has taken this event out before. So Jordy racing down the line in response to Brett. Almost reeled that move in and through that rotation.
I like it. You know, that was definitely an aggressive choice of moves right there, but I think right away he was trying to set a precedent in this heat and, you know, really put some pressure to Brett, which I think, you know, typically over the years historically works on Brett, but this is a different Brett. Here's Jordy, there's that slash. You know, again, for such a big guy, he's super agile. You can see how quick he whipped that tail towards the channel. But unfortunately for Jordy, just got hung up on a tail edge. Again, we were kind of thinking this is not going to be a big score, but this is, you know, what's really enabled Brett to compete so well in this event. He is sticking to his surfboard. He's surfing confident. He's being aggressive. Even that little tail slide right there, that was so tack sharp from Brett. And again, he planted it. You know, there's no sign of him falling. He looks very confident right now.
What event, especially actually this event in particular, because I think this wave suits both of our surfing really well, and there's no, you know, we're not uncomfortable in the conditions. We're both really, we feel good, so it feels really nice to beat her out here, and yeah, I'm just happy to get past that quarterfinal monkey on my back.
And you're coming in at 7th on the rankings. How does it feel to play spoiler to the world title? How are you liking that position?
Yeah, you know, I looked at my rankings today, 7th. It's kind of an uncomfortable position to be in, and I thought about that, and maybe that's what kicked me into gear. And yeah, obviously, see Courtney go out was good for Tyler, and you know, but we're all here for one thing, and I want to win. So that's what I want to try and do this week and see what happens. But I'd love to just keep going up the rankings. I'm not sure if the world title's really in reach for me, but we'll see.
All right, well, we look forward to it. Stephanie Gilmore looking good for a win at the Swatch Women's Pro. Back to you, Ronnie.
Thank you, Rosie. And as Steph said, it's been a long time since she's cracked those last couple of heats of a Championship Tour event. She did final in the first two contests of 2015, going down to Carissa. Carissa had 6 victories head-to-head over Steph Gilmore in a row, so that would be a sweet feeling. Just like Rosie pointed out, there seems to be more on the line than just results when those two meet in the lineup. Their own personal little rivalry playing out nicely.
And rightly so. You know, a lot of pride on the line as we see Jordy Smith. Again, I love how patient he was on this wave. He kind of chilled between turns, which I don't mind. It kind of shows definition between each turn. You know, you could really compartmentalize each maneuver. So again, we talked about how loose Jordy Smith is. He is 6'3", couple of 100 pounds, and you know, he just looks like he's on the beach doing yoga all day. He's so agile, Ronnie. Really just chucking those fins all over the joint. So you know, not a bad score for the big fella.
You know, for anyone in that pack of guys that I'm sitting in, we need to be really dominant in Europe, and obviously it's been a happy hunting ground for me before, and they're two events that I really love and probably do suit me quite well if the waves are good. So, you know, I got nothing to lose. Obviously, the pressure's on, you know, John and Gabe and Maddie. And this event definitely did open the door, and unfortunately for me, I didn't capitalise the other afternoon. Didn't really kind of surf poorly, but probably wasn't on the waves that I needed to be. And, you know, it's going to take no mistakes from here on in to really get in that conversation.
Starting to think that Jordy's done enough to overtake him. Ellie Slater's also in the mix, so these two surfers have a great opportunity. And here's Jordy now, just belting that wave. He's trying to get rid of a 3.67 to push further ahead of Brett Simpson here. Just over 11 minutes remaining Ronnie Blakey with Ross Williams. Interesting to have a chat to Adrian Buchan, get his take on some of those close heats, but also just hearing his prediction for this event. And I've got to agree with him, Ross. I loved the fact that he also gave Felipe the nod, which he rarely gets, with just a different speed to almost every other Championship Tour competitor. This guy also is surprisingly swift. We've had that trace technology on Jordy's board at different stages in the lead up to this contest, Ross, and he's moving at a really quick pace.
Swift is an awesome word to use to describe his surfing right now. You know, Jordy Smith, you know, again, 6'3", over a couple 100 pounds, and he's moving through the water like Felipe is, who weighs almost 50 pounds less than him. So it's amazing. It's all just efficiency with having great technique. You know, even though Jordy's got more weight to push around, you know, he rides the appropriate equipment. He's got a lot of leaderage under his feet, so he's got that response. And that wave that we just watched, that replay, what was that? That could have been easily a 4-point ride that he just milked into what's going to be an okay number. So Jordy is on point right now.
And he has that position of no priority, so he's messing about on the inside here, and he's found a pretty decent wall, and he's been spinning out like that throughout the earlier rounds with great control, and has more to give on this wave, kicking through the lip a couple of times, and that might even be better than his previous ride. So Jordy Smith building, showing us that he's in full beast mode at this stage. 9 minutes to go. Brett Simpson out in the back, and he's going to have a swing on this one. So Brett, he has a 5.5 that he's hanging on to. That foam climb just a little funky to get started, and as a result it kind of throws him off for that second turn. Just under 9 minutes to go. These surfers heading back to the takeoff zone.
Well, I don't want to beat up on Brett just yet, but that's, you know, sort of like what we've seen from him the last couple of years on tour, where he'll make those kind of mistakes with timing and sort of force the issue. So we'll see if he can regroup. Jordy, another difficult wave to surf. Again, Brett gave this wave up with priority, so Jordy kind of had to pick up the scraps. A very difficult wave to surf, and he's so on point right now that he produced a solid score out of it.
I wish I just had more opportunity to really open up, but I'm happy. I mean, Steph's surfing really great. I hope she wins the event.
And how important is, I mean, we saw you going to the progressive side of surfing, and just it was unfortunate that the opportunity wasn't there, like you mentioned, but is that part of your strategy to be able to mix it up when you have to adapt in the conditions? And, you know, Steph hasn't made it past the quarters this whole year. Yourself, you haven't won an event this whole year, so, you know, similar position for both of you. What do you think you have to change to get an event win in 2016?
I think you just got to keep your head and can't really give up. I mean, both on the men and women's side, I think there's been, like, things have gone really weird ways. Like, depending on the waves, everyone's good enough to win heats and win events. And I think I'm just going to keep going, and hopefully something will work out.
Carissa, thank you for your time. We look forward to seeing you in Europe.
Thank you.
Back at you guys.
Thank you, Rosie. You know that Carissa, like Kelly Slater, for example, can get a little further down the ratings and almost be out of that title spotlight, but always have a chance at coming back. If someone out there thinks that Carissa can't just go on and win the last 3 events, they're tripping. She could so easily get on a magic run through Europe, and you know that Maui is hers to lose. So, I don't know. I don't think Carissa's writing herself off just yet.
Not at all. You know, without a doubt, she's got that much firepower. As we see Brett again, so I was worried about that. You know, it is contagious. Once he, you know, fell on that first wave, I was like, ooh, I hope that doesn't really shatter that confidence that we've been talking about. But it is a bit contagious. So now we're seeing a couple of those mistakes that was kind of, you know, been plaguing him the last few years on tour.
We were waiting for a score to drop for Jordy too. I think I read out his 5.83 as his last ride, but he actually had a 7.7 coming from the judges, so it was his best wave. 4 minutes to go, and Brett Simpson is really up against it now. Our competitors just sitting at the takeoff zone now, and Simpo looking left, just flows into that first turn nicely, bringing it round and throwing his board vertical. This wave just getting a little lumpy and hard to read, and Simpo, as a result, is unable to tap into that flow that's seen him putting up some pretty solid scores. Time's running out. Here comes the competitors for the next heat. Quarterfinal 2, Kelly Slater, Felipe Toledo around the corner. Jordy Smith. Now he has that priority and it's come at a great time.
Well, he's trying to see what went wrong on this wave. It's actually just forced the issue a little bit with that first maneuver right there. He's trying to get some projection down the line, and you can see just because he got stuck behind a little bit, he had to place that surfboard right in the lip line before he wanted to. So he's just trying to make things happen there. Couldn't get that extra speed off of each move, and it affected his flow. So, you know, now he's really up against it with Jordy having priority.
Yeah, he's 6'3", 190 pounds, or 86 kilos roughly, and he just doesn't have any problems at all negotiating all these lumps and bumps. He just churns through them, and here he is, ripping through a nice carve to get started, mixing it up with a clean little vertical hit and bringing it through to the inside and just spinning out a little reverse there. Didn't quite ride out of that move. Don't think it'll go into his top two, but there's only 35 seconds remaining here.
Yeah, so that's exactly how, you know, Jordy saw this heat unfolding. He, you know, he had a plan. He wanted to get a couple of scores right away on the board. It actually took him a minute. You know, he had a couple of threes in there, but as soon as he applied a little bit of pressure to Brett, it seemed to be effective. We saw Brett make a couple of mistakes, and you know that kind of played into Jordy's plan.
It was a tough event for Jordy initially. He had a couple of pretty sad results here, but around 2010, he just seemed to click with Trestles. He's had a couple of quarterfinals since 2013, a semi-final finish.